guys, and welcome to Honestly the Podcast, episode 8. My name is Stephanie Emily Harvey.
My name is Maria, and today we have a guest.
We do.
Hello.
Hello.
What's your name?
I'm Ade.
Ade. Yeah, I just have to tell you a little bit about Ade, my friend, co-worker, and yeah, he's just an amazing dude. That's why we chose to have him in this episode. You honestly have one of the most fascinating brains that I've ever met, so I'm so excited to be spending this hour with you.
Thank you. No pressure. I hope everything that comes out of my mouth hole is fascinating.
It truly is. It's really interesting. And yeah, so tell me a little bit about where you're from, because obviously you don't speak Swedish right now, or maybe you do a little bit. How's your Swedish going, by the way?
Jag kan prata lite svenska, men inte för länge. Jag kan ha en bra konversation om min svenska. Because that's always what happens. People say, how's your Swedish? Oh, a little bit. Oh, you can do it. And then we have this conversation about my Swedish. So I've got a lot of practice at that one.
Yeah. Like a bunch of one-liners.
A few.
That's great.
A few. Wait, what was the question? The
question is just your life story, basically. Where are you from? How is your family set up? How's your family set up now, career-wise? Start from the beginning.
All right. I was born in 1972. My mother was, she was 15 when she got pregnant with me, which was highly unusual at the time. As I later found out, nobody knew what to do with me. They didn't know how to treat a child that didn't have a father. Like, we had Father's Day at school and we had to make cards. And I just put my hand up and said, who do I make one for? And there was this sort of awkward, like, kind of like, so that was kind of weird. But it was actually quite a hard beginning because she was so young. She gave me up for adoption, which I didn't know about until I found a photograph a long time later. Then she brought me back for Christmas. Basically, she couldn't stand me being away, so she took me back.
So you were away for a while, and then
the first month of my life, I was taken to.
Really?
Yes, I was put in a nice big family home with a dad, a mum, a dog, and a teenage brother, and a warm house.
Wow.
And it looked very nice. And then they took me out of there back into a very. I don't know. It's hard to imagine. I don't remember it.
Yeah.
But basically, my grandmother, her mother, she was living with her mum and her new stepdad, and I don't think they were ready for another baby in the house. I don't think they had the finances for it, because a year later the stepdad killed himself, and my mum found the body in the garage, and she had to leave home. And so she left home with me at 1 when she was 17 years of age, in a culture where that's not normal. So we moved around a lot in my local town of Brighton, staying with Aunt, her sister, basically, who had she had a kid, and my older cousin, who whatever, that was a bit of a problem sometimes. He was just a bigger kid, he was just like, status competitions and stuff, so his aggression was his idea of play, and I didn't take it as play, I took it as abuse. So I was very rarely happy when we were there. And I moved around so much that I actually moved around schools a lot as well, so I never had any sort of any sense of stability with any interaction with any of these chapters. I was always the new kid, the new kid.
That must do a lot to a child.
Well, I mean, it does. Yeah. I remember I had this very early memory of like being at a round table like this, like a dining table with some other kids, and one of the kids, I think he was, I would guess we were about 6 or 7 years of age. This is the sort of how I, with these memories are like, and I just, to start conversation, I think I just announced, I haven't got a dad, because it was a weird thing, it was something you talked about, because it was strange. It made you go, oh, it's an interesting thing. And this kid who I assumed was smart. You know how you just like, read people, and I just thought you were smart. He just immediately turned to me and said, "You have to have a dad because of seeds." And that because of seeds, and so I imagined like this little packet of seeds. It was so abstract, but when you're a kid, you know,
you're like, I want seeds.
Well, his confidence was just like, I know that this is true, and you are unaware of this information.
Kind of sounds like adult thinking.
It was really weird because you were always trying to work this shit out.
Yeah.
And then
somebody says this is important.
So it was aware it's something to do with seeds. And then a little later on, the intro to sex education at school, they would tell us at school that, the mother and the father would get married, and then they would go to a house, and then when the time was right. And I always wondered how that thing happened when they pointed at the diagram of the thing going in the hole. I wondered how that how that happened through the pajamas. I imagine there was some kind of like emergent natural shift that when you get older, there's a way that your body can like ignore material. you would become one with the pajamas, and the pajamas would merge, and it would just be this like, and so my head was just like full of filling gaps in. Like I always had to fill in the gaps basically. Yeah. So I wasn't corrected much.
Yeah.
And so I kind of guess I'm sort of admitting to living in quite a dreamland, quite a seamless, uninterrupted creation of reality.
Was it hard for you to realize that you've been living in a dreamland? Like, was it hard for you?
No, the hardest thing was waking up.
Yeah,
because of what happened next, right? So the next thing that goes on is that I'm going around from school to school, and I'm encountering these geniuses who know stuff about seeds, and then there's this random conversation that happens with me and my mum, because my mum, she gets these different boyfriends, and she's got quite a routine going actually. Every 2 years, we change
social positions and things. Sometimes we're poor, sometimes we're wealthy. This is what one guy, his family had made a fortune from publishing books or something, and they lived in this amazing country house with a boat in a lake that was in their garden, kind of things like that. And but I've also like lived in like a shared room with her and things like that. So I had no real explanation of how.
How was that going back and forth for her as a single mother, you think?
I can only imagine.
Yeah,
because
she didn't share that with you.
Well, no, because what happens next after all this? We have this conversation because she's very attractive, my mum. She's a beautiful woman. She's still a beautiful woman. And this was back in the earlier sort of misogynistic days when misogyny was a more more prevalent aspect of culture in general. So we'd be walking down the road together and there'd be some wolf whistles and stuff like that. Like, all right, lovely, all right, darling, how you doing? That kind of stuff. Yeah. And I always remember one in particular where there was this like, all right, love, and I turned around and scowled at him. And he went, not you, your mum. And she laughed. She found that hilarious. So, so this, it's weird. You have this kind of like, you have these interactions like this.
Yeah.
So that but let me just put this in a nutshell for you, because this is really weird, okay? Single mum, grandmother, Margaret Thatcher's the Prime Minister. We're talking about Princess Diana. And now I grow up and I'm in my 40s, I find out I'm part of an oppressive male tyranny. Of the male patriarchy, it's just a complete biological lie to me. I've had nothing but women over my head the whole time determining everything, and it's so your power's not frightening in the slightest. No, you're all completely harmless and you do no damage whatsoever. You should trust absolutely every thought you have and every impulse, and you should follow through on all of them, and any resistance you get is completely justified.
Amen.
Because what happens next isn't very nice. We have this conversation about one of her boyfriends when I'm about 8 or 9 years of age. Bearing in mind she's always 15, 16 years older than me, so whatever age I am, you just add that and then you realise that we're dealing with a younger person who's not really, I mean, she's had her own shit, you know, I don't know what's going on in her head most of the time. She was quite erratic. I mean, she could be, she would have these things called funny half hours where she'd just be completely silly and everything would be really funny. And then, oh, I'd love those. Those are great. But then quite a lot of the time I guess I would keep a distance and stuff because I was aware that I shouldn't exist. I became aware of that quite early on. I can't say when that happened. Something to do with there being no seeds around or something, I don't know. But I knew that I was a spare part. I was a detached person who was available if necessary. Which isn't a very healthy perspective to have. No. Anyway, so that information feeds in. We're walking along the road one day talking about one of her boyfriends, and she said to me, "How would you feel if I got married?" And I was like, well, not to Stuart, which was the guy that she was with, because it was quite boring. You know, it was a really boring. I just remember playing with coins on the ground quite a lot. It was sort of like, no, not. I said not to Stuart, and she said, "No." She said, "You know, it's very selfish of you to not want me to be married because adults need to be with other adults." And I was like, I had no idea that I'd been selfish. You know, I just learned. It was like with the confidence of a packet of seeds. You know, it was sort of like I didn't, and she didn't. She knew. She didn't know what she was doing to me. Yeah. She just was like, you know, I need male adult company kind of thing, and I've got you. Kind of thing, and she was kind of sharing her problem with me, and but that was God. It was a bit. I sort of realised like anyway. So anyway, she said that, and then she split up with him. She wasn't with him anymore, and I didn't know this. And then one day she came home with another guy. And oh God, I heard sex. Oh, I heard it.
How old were you?
I was about 10, I think. By this time, it was about 10. You don't really keep the year accurate in those years. But it was the most horrible thing I've ever heard. Yeah, it was horrible. It was like real disturbing. Grunting and like alien almost, you know. Just and I was crying alone in the bedroom, and then it turned out this was a new guy. This is how I'd found out, new man kind of thing, and didn't like him right from the start. He's like taller than me in every possible. He's bigger than me twice in all directions. His shoulders are wider, his head's bigger, he's giant, tall, and
was he scary?
Yeah, because when he goes to shake you, because he was a bit reserved, so conservative. You know, if you looked up like a picture dictionary definition of conservative, it was it.
So not a funny guy.
Not a funny guy, but a big laugh. He had a big, enormous laugh. When things happen to you, it's really funny. When things happen to me, you don't take the piss in my house. Kind of attitude like that. You could tell right from looking back now, you could sort of tell some feeling kicked in that I didn't like, which was when he met me. He met me by moving his head backwards and extending his hand to shake.
Oh my God!
Wait, what does that give away?
That's
weird.
And you're looking up at that, and you have no option but to shake the hand.
Yeah,
that's the thing. It's this provocation, as in like whatever you do next is loaded with right and wrong.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Right, and when you're in a dreamland, right and wrong haven't really existed. It's just been a kind of
stream of emotions that aren't connected with anything solid and reliable. But now we have the concept of right and wrong has just been introduced to you at 11 years of age by a man who fucks your mother like that.
And who seems really conflicted with his own emotions.
Well, yeah, something like that. But anyway, that's what happened. And then within a year, and remember there's always been this pattern of every 2 years.
Yeah.
Within a year of her being with him, and various things happened. She swore at me before. Now she hasn't lost her temper with me before, but now she's like calling me a fucking idiot and things like that. When I lost a ski pass on a holiday we were with him on with his friends and stuff, I was making her look silly. I think I was embarrassing her by existing in a state of chaos and unreliable. You know, she felt she'd failed. And she was looking for correction.
Was it because it was harder for her to get the male attention, or why did she?
No, she was gorgeous. She had no problem with male
why
attention.
Why was she embarrassed by having a child? That's just being a child.
Well, I mean, like you say, I was saying, it's a bit of a trailblazing thing. There wasn't anybody like her when it started. And the guy, her stepdad, killed himself. She had quite a lot of attachment issues. Her mum turned to drink.
Oh yeah, so she didn't know how to connect.
Yeah, so I was quite often left with my nan who was drinking, and she had a drinking partner that she hooked up with within 6 months of the death of her husband. So I was hanging around with very old drinking people and a traumatized teenage girl. These were my influences, but there was definitely love.
Yeah.
There was definitely love. I have no doubt in my mind there was definitely love.
Yeah.
So then, a year later, after this guy walks in like that, my mum comes up to me very formal in my room. Says, "Can you come downstairs, please?" So I was like, "Fuck, you've never talked to me like this before. What's going on?" I come down and she's got the lounge set up. She's got a chair for me at one end of the room and 2 chairs with him in one of them and her in the other one. And she goes and sits with him at the opposite end of the room. And she says, "Nick has asked me to marry him and I have said yes, but I won't do it unless you say it's all right." And the inside of my head, I can see it to this day. It was my head inside had these geometric flashes that were attached to memories that were part of the calculation to work out what the right thing to say was.
Yeah.
Another detail, his mum's just died of cancer, so I don't want to hurt his feelings.
Oh my god.
She wants to get married to be with another man because, I'm not good enough company. So I don't want to hurt her feelings. I don't like him, and she's not nice to me at the moment. I end up like completely frozen with my with these sort of flashes going on as all of this details coming.
Yeah.
And I just remember this impatient demand. "Why are you crying?" It's sort of coming in the adult voice. I don't even remember who it was that was saying it. I think it was her.
Yeah.
I think it was her. "Why are you crying?" And I sarcastically let out this kind of quizzical reply of, "Because I'm happy."
Oh.
He believed it, starts crying because he's just so blessed.
Oh my god.
She breathes a sigh of relief. They get married.
Oh my god.
I'm crying through the whole service. My grandmother with her drink is tottering up and down the aisle. Mum won't face me. She's too busy facing forward. The whole family, absolutely nobody is in touch with what's going on in my head. Absolutely nobody. When the marriage was over, of the day, that she's still married now.
To him?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. When they were about to get in the car, I had this little monkey lizard brain moment where I had a handful of confetti and I threw it full speed in his fucking face. And then immediately pretended I hadn't done anything.
I love it.
And he was like, and he froze and did exactly the same head back thing,
So he knew I had issues.
Yeah.
That must have felt a little bit empowering in that moment, just doing that.
No, I felt like a criminal.
Oh, yeah, because it was wrong showing how you really felt.
Yeah. By now, what I'd just done, what I felt I had done, was given my mother the happiness she needed.
But you've given yours away.
I didn't even know I was entitled to one. I had no idea. I didn't
Did you really
know.
have a choice, too?
I had no sense of self because, you know, there'd been like no cohesive like regularity apart from just me being attached to my mother, and but occasionally left with my grandmother. They would fight a lot about me, actually. My nan would tell her I was really, really, really special, and my mum would go, "He's not special. It's just, you know, you got to stop overselling it." So I didn't know whether I was really, really, really special or just nothing.
Yeah.
So somewhere in the middle, I've had to find this.
Yeah.
So then, what shifted after that was, the marriage. I'm entering my teenage years now, and all of my behaviour, obviously. Oh, you know, you got hormones and the circumstance.
Yeah.
And what was blamed for my personality? All of the hormones, not the circumstance. I was choosing to be strange. I was choosing to behave like that. I was choosing all the time. And I was just... I didn't have a clue what the right thing was anymore.
Because also I recognize the feeling of when you're so little and you grow up in a circumstance like that, it feels like your space just keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller for you to like just live and think.
Well, it affected my body as well, because what happened is that my shoulders started to rise up. And I remember this. I really remember it kicking in early teens. I went to swing on a rope in a forest, and I had this sharp stabbing pain in my stomach. At the moment, I stretched my body up, so it was like a full wound. Bent my body over in this like sort of contorted interpretation of whatever this thing called. It wasn't pain, because it's too. Emotional pain doesn't hurt; it just confuses and overwhelms. And so it doesn't get called pain, but it manifests itself in physical pain. And this. So basically, what happened was it was like I'd been sort of shot in the stomach in slow motion, and my shoulders came up, and so I had this kind of like would lose my entire head into my shoulders. Like it was a no neck at all. People would take the piss out of me at school about it. I'm Adrian, kind of thing like that, with their shoulders up next to you. People do. I mean, they're honest, you know. That's the thing about honesty. I'd rather live in an honest world where people hurt your feelings than live in a world where people are pretending.
Well, that's true. I agree to that.
In all ways. I mean, you need it for clarity's sake. You need it. So anyway, then Mum gets pregnant, and she's angry with me at the dinner table for something or other, and she stabs a fork in my hand. Yeah, like boom, like that. Yeah, because I just and I scream. He says nothing, and nobody says anything. It's just nothing, and it's like, I mean, 4 like blood prongs are coming out of my hand.
Oh my god!
And it's like, I don't know what you're supposed to do with that, you know, because the thing is that when I honestly feel that hurt me in ways that are undeniable and in need of conversation. The many years later I tried to bring it up. I'm apparently doing it to make her feel bad.
She puts herself in defense mode immediately. Not taking responsibility for it.
And the thing that pisses me the fuck off, I'm so sorry, but it's the fact that there's so many kids out there that may have it like that or in different ways, but that just doesn't have a voice. They just get to deal with a bunch of other people's shit, and they just have to go along to survive. They have no other choice. but to like try to make everyone happy and just please everyone, and it fucks people up, and it has obviously made you a better person, I would say, or I don't know if that's the reason why you're such an awesome, great human being. There might be 1,000 other reasons to it, but I mean, yeah, I don't know. It just pisses me off that so many kids have to just be dragged along this fucking shitty life journey that they don't deserve. They don't deserve these issues, or even to be dealing with adult issues by that time.
Yeah, and to constantly, I'm sorry, but to constantly, like, when you try to mirror your reality as a kid, and it always gets shut down. Like, for example, when you try to bring it up with her again, and she just shut it down, like, no, that's you trying to make me feel bad, when in fact it was her that did something wrong. That must be so confusing.
Well, it's confusing because what it does is that in the same kind of confidence with which people do that, you know, like with the packet of seeds, or with the, you know, you're doing a, you know, the confidence with which people do that, if you're not self-assured in your own sense of identity, you think they've seen something you're unaware of. So they set you off on a trail of digging for, you know, well, there are two ways to look at it. You're either shoveling shit or you're digging for diamonds. And a friend of mine said he never worries about me when I get depressed because I usually come back with something good, you know. So ultimately it turns out I am actually digging for diamonds most of the time. Although it's, you know, it's under the shit. You do have to shovel a lot of shit before you start digging for the diamonds.
You hear that, folks? Start digging.
That's the perfect episode title.
Right.
Shoveling shit. So what to say? Then my little brother turned up. And I was amazing to him. I was just, you know, he was great, and I was there for him every day after school, and I'd push him around on a little like brick carrying wagon thing, you know, full speed around the carpet, and it was like wonderful. And but my time at the house was it was ticking. I didn't know. As my Sambo later put it, I didn't know this was my replacement. And I'm not quite comfortable with calling him my replacement because he's my brother and I don't see him as my replacement. However, technically and materially, yeah, kind of.
That's how it turned out.
Yeah. So, oh wait, you know, it was almost like she was like, well, I messed up so badly with this, but I'm going to get this one right. And I was kind of abandoned to be weird. And I ended up being weird. It was just an official description. I'm just weird. Weird. You just want people to think you're different kind of explanation. And I didn't really know what the hell I was doing. That's a lot.
When did you move out? Or
yeah, well, all of a sudden I had to move out.
All of a sudden
this is what I meant about the ticking clock thing. Yeah. It was like one day something happened. Don't remember what the situation was, but my mum just snapped and said, "When are you moving out?"
How old were you?
I had no idea that's what she was waiting for. Old enough, I was 19. I didn't know that's what she was waiting for.
That's maybe not the goodbyes goodbye that you want. You would
not.
kind of want some support first, maybe. Some guidance.
She said it on Friday. I was gone by Monday.
That's fucking insane.
And she cried on the doorstep, like, "Oh, my baby's going," kind of thing. I'm like, and I actually my then girlfriend at the time, Karen, her name was. She I was looking for a place to rent in town, and she said, "Well, come and live with me," without checking with her granddad. And so I was like, "Oh, okay," and I moved in, and the granddad never spoke to me, and I was there for a year and a half. So I moved from one place where I wasn't welcome to a place where I was invited but wasn't welcome.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Karen was about. I got engaged to Karen. I thought that was what you were supposed to do, kind of thing. I think I was going to, like, you know, knowing how weird I was trying to be normal, I think.
No.
Right. So, yeah. So that was her.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, do I tell everything? Bloody hell.
Yes.
The memories are just like Karen had an ex-boyfriend called James who was a boy racer. He had a Fiat Panda.
What's a boy racer?
A boy racer. He was a boy with a car.
Oh.
As in, not yet a fully developed human male. I've got a car! That's a boy racer. And they would race other boy racers with their cars. And they would have really shitty cars, but they'd make them look nice on the outside. Reflective, like, windows and shit like that, you know. And he was her first boyfriend, and then she was the secretary at the place I was working. And one Christmas party, she just lunged at me with a kiss. And I just thought, oh, is this love? Is this what it is? And I just went ahead and carried on. Oh, okay. And then I'm living with her. Really, I was just completely clueless about how people saw me. You know, I just would go on. You know, if people, I summarised it as that growing up for me, working out the difference between right and wrong, I got it from the tuts and eye rolls of others. If people would go tuts.
Ah.
Like if I said something, people would go, oh, don't say that again.
Yeah.
Or eye rolls, as in like, oh, here he goes again.
Yeah.
You know, so.
You know, it's interesting. I'm sorry I interrupt you, but
Sorry.
I recognize.
Why don't you just tut?
No, but I don't know why, but I recognize that feeling so much of like. I don't know why, but when I was a kid and when I was growing up, I felt like I didn't know what was right and wrong, and I was always like looking, like observing, like am I doing it right now, and just looking for like eye rolls and tuts or and it's exhausting. It's really exhausting.
Because you really have to focus on every single part of your body almost.
Yeah,
it's like you're not relaxed in any part.
Self-consciousness is what it is. Self-awareness.
Yeah.
But you can get really carried away with it. Because you know, if that's all you're focusing on, you're missing everything else, and I think that's what happens is you get out of practice of listening and paying attention to the world, and you end up getting lost in yourself, and then you have another go, and then somebody fucking tuts, and then you're back in again.
Exactly. Yeah.
Totally
know that. I'm still like that.
Yeah, because now like.
Okay, I'll go back. Back at my shelf.
That was a bit weird. All right.
Okay.
Too much info.
I'll try to be normal again tomorrow.
No, but I got a new job that I work at when they need me. It's at a kindergarten. And there I feel like I get back into that situation and position because I haven't worked with kids before. Where am I supposed to be with, like, I don't know how I'm supposed to act. So then I feel like before I go to work, I have this like anxiety because every time I'm there, it's like you said, I'm not relaxed. I'm just like fully self-conscious about every movement and like every word that I say. And then when I interact with the people that work there, I sound awkward. And it's just like, I know it's going to pass because I'm going to get more comfortable working there, but I don't know, it just comes back sometimes in certain situations.
Well, when you go into a new environment, everything is loaded with information.
Yeah.
Absolutely everything.
Yeah.
And people change and have mood swings and everything. So that's a lot to get used to.
Yeah.
And that's why it takes the time. It's not a flaw of it's not an error in your sort of biological interactions with reality. It's a new environment.
Yeah, that's true.
And you know, finding the place and space, it does take a while.
Yeah.
It's full of feedback loops and everything.
Yeah.
You sort of work out by moving things around what you get from that. There are feedback loops in all of this.
What are feedback loops?
Feedback loops are like you know, if you put a microphone too close to a speaker when it's plugged in and you get feedback. It's because it's picking up the sound of the speaker that's making the sound from the microphone.
Yeah.
So, so you get feedback, as in like, you know, you can't really say when feedback starts.
Yeah.
You're
so
already
that happens
in an immersive
in, like,
activity.
Yeah. That's interesting that you say that also, that it's not like an error, because I don't know if you guys recognize this, but I've always been so hard on myself. So I've always been like, yeah, there is something, like I'm really awkward and I can't talk, I can't interact with people, there's something wrong with me, yada yada la la la. Yeah.
Me too, like just
for the benefit of the listening audience, she put her hand up to say something.
No, but I totally recognize that feeling, and I'm so hard on myself whenever I feel that natural reaction to a new environment, because I used to take pride in being an easily adaptive sort of person, and someone who had to introduce themselves a lot in new situations. So I used to be super confident in that, saying I'm really good at new situations. But then it just sort of shifted, and I took it way more personally than it just seeing it for what it is, a natural reaction. You're not always. How can you so confidently say that? Oh, I'm always good in new situations. Because you don't know what situations are gonna come your way.
New situation.
Right. Yeah.
Well, there's a couple of things to connect to that through what I was saying, was that this business of the fork in my hand. I had to work out, because I knew my mum loved me, I had to work out how somebody who loved me could do that. And I did.
Okay.
And I'm okay with her now. So I'm not bad-mouthing her when I tell this story. I mean, I actually have, I do not doubt the love. I respect her right to have been disgusted. I respect her right to have been, in all the emotional directions she needed to go. I literally have no issues with any of this. But the way I resolved it was that I came to the conclusion that there is nothing wrong with the universe, and we are all the sperm that made it. Existence, our very existence, is justification for our existence. There are no wrongly existing human beings on this world. None. And with that in mind, that then started to funnel out into the way that I view the world. Because when I was a kid in 1984, there was a massive issue where in Ethiopia people had starved to death. It was a very, very big event on national television. They found this awful situation where starving Ethiopians, it was just everybody knew about the starving Ethiopians. Parents would say to their children, "You've got to eat your dinner, think of the starving Ethiopians." It was a thing. And we had this like huge upsurge of like people, let's take care of the starving Ethiopians. So we had Band Aid, this Do They Know It's Christmas song, and we had Live Aid, where like we had this huge concert in London that took over the BBC the entire day, and there was one in California as well. It was a really massive like global event, all staged, managed by the fact that national television was presenting it to the country. So it was one of these very wholesome, transcendent moments where us caring and enjoying ourselves and being generous with money helped feed starving people. We got to feel like a really good place. It was an amazing feeling. And there was a video that they did a montage of all these people starving with this song called Drive by the Cars. And I would record music from a speaker with a tape recorder, and I recorded the song, and then I listened to it in bed one night, and I completely forgot that in the video there's a line where it says, "Who's going to plug their ears when you scream?" And they actually cut in the scream of a baby who was undernourished. It was a real like baby scream, and I'm lying in the dark, and suddenly this real human scream just completely infiltrates my entire being. And it changes you, stuff like that. You change. Your whole like substratas, structures, biology, thought processes, emotions, the whole lot. It's like getting hit by an emotional asteroid, and just the landscape and the environment of your very being is changed forever. This is what's happened with a lot of these events I'm talking about. You know, the fork in my hand, you need seeds, a screaming baby dying of malnutrition.
Yeah.
This all goes in,
Yeah.
and you do all process it. So there's a lovely phrase I heard from a thing on psychology, which is that we're all moral entrepreneurs. You know, an entrepreneur is somebody who has these ambitions about, like, I'm going to do this. This is what I'm going to do with me and who I am.
Yeah.
We all have a moral entrepreneurship. We have an idea of what is right and wrong.
Yeah.
And it is all based on our experiences. And I also think there is this biological innateness to it as well. I think we're
What is innateness?
innate, as in like it's part of us. I don't
Naturally.
think humanity is evil. I don't think it is. I think it can go evil. I think the monkey lizard brain can reach for a gun as much in a panic as it can reach for a toilet roll. And I do not doubt the horrors that humanity can commit. But I don't think we'd be here anymore if humanity was evil. I don't think we'd have got this far. I don't think so.
There's actually this philosopher called Hannah Arendt.
Hannah Arendt, the Second World War writer.
Yeah, exactly. And she wrote a book about, how come so many people were able to participate in the Holocaust. You know, were these all these people evil? You know, and I haven't read the book, but she came up with some sort of conclusion. That we can all, like, our brains are malleable in that way, that if certain things happen in a certain way, we can change our behavior and become evil or do evil things.
Those who are given any why can bear any how is a phrase that I've heard from somewhere. I can't remember who said it originally.
Wait, say that again?
If you can bear any why, if you those, I can't even I can't remember what I just said. I don't know how it originally goes. But if you're presented with if those that can bear any how can bear any why or something, or given a why. No, if you're given a why, you can justify any how. As in like, the reason why we're doing this, it's not very nice, There's a similar book to that as called Ordinary Men, which is about these German policemen that were given the job of like just clearing out the prisons when the Nazis were up and running, and it documents how it happened. Like, they started off, they were told they didn't have to do this if they didn't want to. But of course, being comrades and helping each other out, they couldn't leave each other to it, so they worked together, they were working buddies. Then then they had to kill somebody, and and then it just like escalates. It does escalate. And there's another book that one thing that really stuck with me, a phrase that always got me. George Orwell's a very famous writer. He's famous for two books in particular, which is Animal Farm and 1984.
Okay.
Animal Farm is an allegory for what went wrong in communism.
Okay.
And 1984 is more about totalitarianism, like how when the entire force of the state orders you to think in a particular way, how it can use like intimidation tactics and form everybody into conformists until the conformists tell everybody how they're supposed to be behaving. And he wrote this other book called Coming Up for Air, and there's a line in there that's always stuck with me, which is that he was talking about Nazi Germany before Hitler was, became the Hitler we all know and hate. They said he referred to Germany as that place where they think in slogans and talk in bullets.
Wow, yeah.
It's almost like thought processes, like if you accept this particular slogan, then you're in this gang.
Yeah.
And if you reject that slogan, you're in that gang.
Yeah.
And those who have a why can bear any how.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it ends up getting like people get trapped in linguistic tribalism.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's frightening.
It's frightening.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
the pressure of the crowd is to say what the crowd is saying.
Yeah.
And to stand up and say, actually, I completely disagree with you, crowd, is to be outnumbered by choice.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why we keep on descending into conflicts.
Yeah.
So I've come to the conclusion that we need to stop the fighting.
Right.
And this claim that there's nothing wrong with the universe or all the sperm that made it. The world is round. People can't fuck off. They can only go somewhere else. If we bring up the borders, they'll bounce back sooner if we've told them to fuck off. If everybody pointed up, we'd all be pointing somewhere else. Never at the same thing twice.
Oh.
Never at the same thing as each other.
I love that thought.
If we all pointed down, centre of the planet, same thing. We can agree on down. We don't have to agree on up. If anything, up is entertaining.
Yes.
It's in different directions for everybody. And that's a good thing to know. Because down is a human universal. We all go down.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So, so I've come up with these, these are my statements.
Yeah.
They're slogans. Let's make gangs where we go, and then all march in teams. So there's nothing wrong with the universe. All the sperm that made it. And then we'll all wear t-shirts saying, "I am a free thinker," and we'll all look the same and have the same haircut.
So that was the first part of our little chit chat with Ade. And I hope you guys like it. Sorry that the audio quality isn't the best in this recording. The room that we was in didn't have the best sound acoustics. But we are looking forward to share with you the next part or the second part of our talk with Ade. And yeah. Have a good one.